This video is on solving systems of linear equations, word problems. The Smiths are cleaning out their basement. They realize that they have so much trash that they need to rent a dumpster. Dumpsters Inc. rents a dumpster for $100 plus $15 per hour. Garbage R Us only charges $50, but they charge $25 per hour. After how many hours will the cost be the same, and what is the cost? So our first step is to determine our variables. We have cost and how many hours it's going for. So we're going to use C is cost, and I'll use H is hours. So we have two different companies here. So Dumpsters Inc. would be that their cost is $100 plus $15 per hour. So we could say that the cost is equal to $100 plus $15 per hour, so that would be 15H. Garbage R Us has a cost of $50, but they charge $25 per hour, so $50 plus $25 per hour. So after how many hours will the cost be the same? Now, these equations are set up to where it's basically a y equals mx plus b, so they're already in slope-intercept form. So we can actually use a calculator or Desmos, and we could graph these. So I'm going to use Desmos for this just to get the solution, because it doesn't say that we have to use algebraic. So I'm going to go to Desmos and type in the two equations. Instead of using C equals, I'll have to use Y equals. So Y equals 100 plus 15x. Then I'll use Y equals 50 plus 25x. Now, I know that these are not parallel because they do not have the same slope, so they will intersect. I just need to zoom out until I see where they intersect. I see that they are intersecting because the blue is now above the red, so I need to find where they actually intersect. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I find the coordinate of which they intersect at 5, 175. So since I used the x is 5, but we had h as our x value, so our coordinate was 5, 175. What that means is that at 5 hours, so after 5 hours, both companies will charge the same. Amount of $175, because the x was represented by our h, our hours, and our y was represented by our c, our cost. So after 5 hours, both companies will charge the same amount. So if the Smiths are going to use a dumpster for 5 hours, then they could use either company. But if the Smiths were doing it for less than 5 hours or more than 5 hours, then the companies would be different in cost. So if you plan to take 2 days, which company should you choose? So if I'm going to take 2 days, that's going to be 24 hours and another 24 hours. That'll be 48 hours. So if we were to use 48 hours, we could plug it into both of these. So we have the 48 hours. So I would plug in for our time 48 hours. I would have $822. And for the other one, we'd have $1,250. If I was going to use it for 2 days, I would want to go with Dumpsters R Us because it would cost less money. Now, if we were only going to use it for 2 hours, we would want to use garbage RS because it's cheaper. But since we're asking for 2 days, we would want to use Dumpsters Inc. because it would charge much less money. If we are going to go for 2 hours, we would want to use garbage RS. On the next problem, it says 2 balloons are in the air. Balloon 1 is 10 meters above the ground and rising at 15 meters per minute. Balloon 2 is 150 meters above the ground and descending at 20 meters per minute. Write an equation for each balloon below. Use T to represent time and M to represent meters above the ground. So in this case, we already know what our variables are. So for balloon 1, it says that it's 10 meters above the ground and rising 15 meters per minute. So the meters, the height above the ground for balloon 1 is already 10 meters above the ground and rising 15 meters per minute. So it's going to add 15 every minute. But for balloon 2, the height above the ground in meters is already at 150 meters, but it's descending, so it's subtracting 20 meters every minute, so every time we have a T. This one asks us to graph the above equations, then estimate the time when the balloons will be at the same height. So we're going to estimate it based off of the graph. So for the first balloon, I'm going to graph it in purple. It has a y-intercept of 0, 10, and it has a slope of 15 over 1. So it's going to rise, so go positive 15, so that's 10, 15, positive 1. So then we have another, this is 5, so that's going to be at 25, this is 30, and that goes up to 40, and another 1. 10, 15, positive 1. 5, 15, positive 1. 10, 15, positive 1. 5, 15, positive 1. 10, 15, positive 1. 5 plus 10 is 15, positive 1. 10 plus 5, positive 1. 5 plus 10, positive 1. So this is the first balloon. The second balloon has a y-intercept at 150, and it's descending 20 per 1. So this is at 150, so 140, 130, positive 1. Negative 20, 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 positive 1. As far as I can go, and I'll connect these. So by graphing it, we can find the intersection to be here, which looks to be at 4 minutes. It'll be a height of 70 meters. So we're estimating it when the time when the balloons will be at the same height. So we're estimating at approximately 4 minutes. Now, because we want to check it, we're going to use substitution elimination to find the exact time when the balloons will be at the same height. So we have these two equations. M equals 10 plus 15t, and M equals 150 minus 20t. We can use substitution here. It does say substitution, but that's substitution, because we can take this first expression that's equal to M and substitute it for the other M. So we would have 10 plus 15t t is equal to 150 minus 20t. We can move all of our variables on the same side, so I'm going to add the 20t to the other side. We'll have 10 plus 35t is equal to 150. I will subtract the 10 from both sides. We'll have 35t equals 140. And then we will divide by 35. We'll get t is equal to 4. So the time is in fact 4 minutes. So we were correct with the estimate from graphing it. Now, what will the height be? We can plug the t in for the height and for the time on either one of these equations. So m equals 10 plus 15 times our 4 minutes. We'll have m is equal to 10 plus 15 times 4 is 60. So m is equal to 70. What this means is that after 4 minutes, the balloons will both be at 70 meters. And that is what we had estimated that it will be at 4 minutes, and we can prove this algebraically and graphically. Our last problem says a total of $4,500 is invested in 2 funds paying 4% and 5% annual interest. You would like to earn $210 in annual interest on those funds. How much should you invest in each fund? This type of problem is a little more complicated on knowing which ones your variables are. We have 2 different funds. Those are our 2 variables. Since we have 4% and 5%, it's not going to be easy to use letters to represent the 4 and the 5, so I'll just use x and y. I'll say that x is the 4% fund, and that y is the 5% fund. So with the 2 funds, we have a total of $4,500 that is invested in these funds. So we would say our first equation would be our x and our y together would have a total of $4,500. Then we have to use the fact that it's 4% and 5% to figure out how to write our second equation. We want to earn $210 in interest. So our $210 is our total that we want to earn. But we get 4% for the X account, so we would write that as 0.04X. And we get 5% for the Y, so we would have 0.05Y. We have to use the percentage for the X because this is the total amount that we want to get in interest. The amount of money that is invested is not the interest that we're getting. So we want to figure out if you want to do substitution or elimination. I am going to choose to do substitution for this problem because I can easily take this first equation and solve for one of the variables. I'll take this top equation and solve for y. So I'll have y is equal to 4,500 minus x. Now that I have my equation solved for a variable, I'll take the expression that's equal to y and substitute it for the other y. Now I'll have 0.04x plus 0.05 times the 4,500 minus x is equal to 210. So the distributive property and simplifying, we'll have 0.04x plus 5% of 4,500 is 225, and then 0.05 times negative x is negative 0.05x is equal to 210. Combine our terms. We have 0.04x minus 0.05x is negative 0.01x plus 225 is equal to 210. We will subtract the 225 and we'll have negative 0.01x is equal to negative 15. Now we will divide by that negative 0.01 and we'll actually get x equal to a positive 1,500. That's how much they are putting into the 4% fund. So to find for the 5% fund, we take this value and substitute it into one of the other equations, to the original equations. I'll plug it into my first one. So we'll have x, which is 1,500, plus y is equal to 4,500. To solve for this, we'll just subtract the 1,500 and we'll have y is equal to 3,000. Now we have x and y. So in each fund, we should invest 1,500 in the 4% fund, since that was our x, and x is 4% fund, and we need to invest $3,000 in the 5% fund, because the y was the 5% fund. So we had to be careful on that second equation to make sure that we had the 4% represented and the 5% represented to find the actual amount of interest. Percents should always be rewritten as a decimal so that we don't see the percentage anymore.